was not accepted as a kid, purely due to me being a different race than everyone else. It was a common theme of mine to be isolated under a negative spotlight. I became hyper-conscious in class to be as invisible as possible to avoid any attention. This eventually spiraled into the beginnings of my anxiety disorder before I've even heard of anxiety. I vividly remember being able to wake up before the alarm to get ready for school, as I was overly anxious of going to school and repeating the cycle all over again. This anxiety disorder branched into OCD as well. My parents weren't able to hold consistent jobs and were looking for new opportunities year after year. We moved around a lot as a result, including across states multiple times. As a consequence of moving around a lot, I would lose friends time and time again. This instability continued to lead to the deterioration of my mental health. My parents also never learned English. As a result, a good chunk of what should be their responsibility fell onto my shoulders. I would do the tasks that required English, which involved multiple court appearances, as my parents were not scrupulous people. This extra responsibility, on top of what my mental struggles were already, continued to lead to the deterioration of my mental health. I went to a university that was known to put a heavy workload on their students. From OCD, I also had perfectionistic tendencies that put unnecessary pressure on myself. Attending the university was a mistake when in combination of where I was at mentally, it led to further deterioration of my mental health. During COVID, while I was still in university, my parents once again moved to another state to pursue a new opportunity. They wanted me to follow so they could stop renting my current place in that previous state. Due to some circumstances, I couldn't live with them in the new state, but instead rented an apartment for my own. I remember scouring Google Maps in search of best rated apartments that were still reasonably priced. My dad called me without consideration, saying he picked an apartment already. I looked up the apartment, it was 2.2 stars. I told him this, but he said he had already given the money. In combination with taking a heavy workload class that was notorious for being useless for my major, and I mean absolutely fucking useless, it turns out living in the apartment complex set my mental health back multiple years. I was miserable taking that class, and the apartment complex was horribly managed. I also developed agoraphobia after 6 months into the apartment and was essentially trapped in there. Combined with anxiety and OCD, it made it difficult for me to even consider moving, as the task of moving just seemed so completely overwhelming. So I was further trapped in there for much longer than I should have stayed. By that, probably 2 years. I still managed to graduate despite everything, but it did take me an extra year. But the job search was a tremendous struggle for me. Due to anxiety, I have an extremely hard time processing in the interview setting, even for questions that I've seen before. As a result, it took me nearly half a year after graduating to find a job. And it was a job that came as a contract with the devil, because this was a company notorious for bad employee experiences. Yet I had no choice. Fast forward a couple of years later, all the negativity of the company turned out to be true, and again set my mental health back tremendously. All in all, my poor mental health had tremendous repercussions in my personal life, school, and career for over a decade. I do feel like I could have done better in enduring less and getting help much more. I linked 2 videos of mine if you're interested in those 2 topics. Regardless, please make sure you're prioritizing your mental health. It can very literally impact every other aspect of your life. Don't be like me. If you're struggling, get help in whatever way you can. Chances are you're not alone in this. It's much better to endure the work it takes to correct your mental health than it is to not seek help and endure the suffering year after year after year. Get the help that you need. This video, please like, comment, share, and or subscribe with the notifications to help me put out more videos. Thanks for listening, and take care for now.